everyone, and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on YouTube.com. It still says /UC Campbell, but the name of the channel has changed. I kind of mentioned this in that weekend preview / channel update that I'm switching the name over to GodSaw to go along with, well, everything that we have over here. I call this GodSaw's Turnbuckle. I think the channel kind of needs to represent that in some way, shape, or form, but we're not here to talk about that. We're going to be doing a long, elongated episode today, going through Raw, Smackdown, and NXT this week, plus kind of anything that just comes up to mind, with the factor of, just the week that is going on and everything that is going through here. Someone just popped into my chat. It's been a while since I've seen them. Pro Gaming Galaxy, good to see you. We can talk about that a little bit when we get to SmackDown, about Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, all that kind of stuff, because there's some interesting stuff that's going on that side. One of the few kind of interesting things that was really going on with SmackDown was the Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon stuff. But we are just starting off today, and we are going to start off with Monday Night Raw that aired on, I believe it was December 11th. Yes, it was December 11th. This is currently Thursday, so it's sometimes my days get a little bit weirded out on that one. So they started off the show with basically Samoa Joe being in the ring and, yeah, just kind of calling out Roman. And they went through this whole bit where they, where he was calling out Roman, and then they cut back to backstage, and you have Rollins and Ambrose back there watching on the TV. It's like, oh, we need to find Roman. And then they cut back to Joe, who's cutting off on everything. And Teddy Hart's back in here. Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, I did change the name of the channel. I kind of gave a reason why on that one a little bit earlier on. And we'll keep rolling with everything here. This might kind of go through everything. I might just cut over to the chat every now and again. But back to what they were going through right at the beginning of Monday Night Raw. They were, like I said, they were doing this weird thing with Rollins and Ambrose being backstage. It's like, oh, we need to go get Roman because he's getting called out. And then they cut back to Joe, who's still calling out Roman. And then also saying, it's like, I don't need my Shield, I don't need other partners, everything in that sense. So he's telling Roman to come out by himself. And then they show Roman watching the TV, and it's like, he just looks at him, and it's like, I've got this, and then walks off. It's like, it was a lot of different things that they went to get to where they would usually go with, you know, person coming out. I guess they were trying to add some depth to it, or maybe pad some time, I don't know, to go along with it. But eventually Roman Reigns comes out. He and Joe start brawling for a good chunk of the period, good chunk of time over there, and eventually this does lead to where Roman has a little bit of the advantage, but Samoa Joe has Cesaro and Sheamus there, and lo and behold, it's like, of course, the heels are creating the beatdown. You had Samoa Joe, who had Roman Reigns in the Coquina Clutch for a good chunk of period of time, while Rollins and Ambrose come out, and they get laid out by Cesaro and Sheamus. So basically, the entire Shield was laid out in this portion of the show, leading up to their 3 matches later on the night, which was, you know, Rollins and Sheamus, Cesaro and Roman, and then of course Dean Ambrose and Samoa Joe to go along with it. But we'll talk about those a little bit later. So up next they had the first match, which was Bayley and Mickie James. They came out with Sasha Banks. And then going up against Paige and Mandy Rose. And they came out with Sonya Deville. Of course, Absolution cuts a promo beforehand. And, you know, Absolution's been kind of shown off as a dominant force throughout this entire time. And that's what they keep doing here. They have multiple segments throughout the night. Matter of fact, we'll talk about that aspect a little bit later. Their match with Bayley and Mickie going up against Paige and Mandy Rose, I thought was a pretty good one. It was a fine enough match for what it was. It finally kind of allowed people to see more of what Mandy Rose could do inside the ring, and honestly, she seems to be fairly competent inside the ring. and it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. Also, during the promo, for whatever reason, I don't think Sonya Deville cuts bad promos by any stretch of the imagination, but she is the one that gets the what chance out of everybody on that one. So it's a little bit interesting to see what is going on with that one, at least in the terms of promos. As I have I have some water here to kind of just go through everything. But yeah, Mandy Rose, like I said, came out there with some decent offense. Paige eventually gets the win, or not Paige, but Mandy Rose actually picks up the victory after Paige super kicks Mickie James, and then Mandy Rose is able to pick up the victory out of that. Decent enough stuff, and it's not the last that we see of Absolution. Matter of fact, that's what they've kind of been doing over the last couple weeks. They've been kind of making 2 appearances throughout the entire show, and everything on that side. Up next, you have Bray Wyatt and Woken Matt Hardy. You see with a grin on my face, I am so happy that they have at least a variation of the broken gimmick in some way, shape, or form around. Even though you could tell they're kind of in the early stages of everything. Basically, graphic. They have this little graphic on there where you have just a Woken on the sign. Or on the actual screen, and then it breaks. I like how they put that little detail in there, but like, it's broken, but it's woken. So it's it was a nice little touch. I mean, it didn't really look that good. I kind of liked last week's promo a little bit more with the way that they skipped between the two of them last week, but kind of the same promo with what we got this week. I'm not expecting them to go completely ham with this right away, and it's mostly because I'm more interested to see where they're fully going to go with this. They obviously have Matt going with the full-on, his full-on, accent, everything on that side. They even make mention to the Broken Brilliance. He has now what he's calling the Woken, Woken Illuminance, I believe? But he makes mention to his Broken Brilliance from before. So he's making mentions here and there about his past to go along with it. He even makes mention in this one, as like he had seen the soul of Sister Abigail, and now it's in the vessel of Bray Wyatt, and he's going to delete Sister Abigail from Bray Wyatt, or something to go along with that. It's hard to fully explain this one. It's one of those things you kind of got to see to fully believe what's going on with the broken side of Matt Hardy. I've been able to see all that while watching Impact Wrestling at that point in time. So it's always hard to explain, but it's one of those things you just kind of got to see it to believe it. So I'm looking forward to them doing more than just Matt being behind some like crumpled up almost blue / green screen thing, or tarp, or whatever they have behind them at that point in time. It's just I'm looking forward to seeing more and see where they actually go with all of this down the line here. I enjoyed the first week. I enjoyed this week's as well. I would probably say they're about the same in the terms of their promos, everything in that sense. The laughter, they continually make it go like that one step almost too far with the laughter from both sides. I think they cut back and forth between them twice the first week. Now they did it 3 times. So it's been fun so far. We'll see what they do with the terms of changing everything down the line here, as I'm checking to see if I have any drop frames here to go along with everything. So it'll be interesting to see where they go along with all of this stuff, because for people who are watching this later, this is being live streamed to go along with it, so I kind of got to check just to double, check every now and again, see if I get drop frames or everything in that sense, as I cut away from doing some stuff every now and again. One of the things about live streaming versus being recording it and then uploading it later is things you got to check like that. But after the Broken and well, I think I'm always gonna call it Broken, even though I know it's Woken. Matt Hardy now. I'm so used to calling it Broken. So after Bray and Woken Matt Hardy, there we go, we got it right. We had Enzo and Drew Gulak backstage. So Enzo was kind of going through everything, and then Drew was like kind of just mumbling and going through whatever he was going through. Drew Gulak comes in and kind of mumbles under his breath. We didn't get like a serious Michael Cole saying what happened with Rich Swann or everything on that side, or just saying that there was an incident and Rich Swann's now suspended, which is the case. For people who hadn't really read into it, the reason why he had been suspended, he had been arrested on a domestic dispute, basically a domestic dispute and potential false imprisonment to go along with it with his wife at the time, who was also an independent wrestler known as Su Yung. So she's so that was kind of the situation that was going on. The way that they kind of went about saying that Rich Swann wasn't going to be there to do the #1 contendership match was Drew Gulak comes in and kind of quickly glosses over it, saying Rich Swann had his match or his opportunity rescinded, and now there is a second chance fatal 4-way match for later on in the night. So that's basically how they went through that on that side. They kind of I would say they kind of glossed over it, but they, because they didn't fully bring up everything with what they needed or what had happened, everything in that sense. And I guess they don't necessarily have to do that, but it's one of those things that I think they needed to have a little bit more context instead of having to go to the website to understand why he was being suspended in some way, shape, or form. So Enzo kind of starts talking to Drew Gulak, and basically he starts naming off all the opponents that he could face, and he mentions not Rich Swann, but he mentions Nia Jax to go along with it. It's like, and Drew just kind of gives that weird look, but also it's like, oh, I see where this is going. And he's like, you're preparing me for anybody and everybody at that point. Also saying that, Enzo has Nia Jax on the mind at this point in time as well. So that's kind of where they were going with that. Decent enough segment, and kind of set up the Fatal 4-Way for later. Up next was Finn Balor going up against Curtis Axel. So you had Curtis Axel coming out, even though he was clear to wrestle, still having the neck brace on. So playing it off that he's still injured, everything in that sense, but he takes off the neck brace eventually. They both attack Finn before the match, him and Bo Dallas. And then after the match starts, it was rather quick. Curtis Axel gets some offense in, but eventually just is succumbed to Finn Balor in the coup de grace, and Finn Balor goes over. So Finn Balor, at this point in time, is kind of doing nothing at this point in time. He's just kind of there. I don't know where they're going with that. It'll be interesting to see where they're actually going with that. If it's going to set up something between him and The Miz whenever The Miz comes back, or what it's going to eventually lead to. I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, really, at this point in time. So we'll see how everything ends up playing out down the line here. Up next was a Kane promo on his match with Braun Strowman later in the night. They basically advertised a bunch of matches before the show, which Kane and Strowman was announced, and then they added another stipulation of the winner gets to face Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. So he was cutting a promo on Braun and then saying, it's like, after I beat you, I'm going to Royal Rumble to face Brock Lesnar. You kind of got the same thing a little bit later on with Braun as well. Both of them kind of pretty decent promos on each other. At least I would say they cut some good promos on each other. Up next was Seth Rollins going up against Sheamus. Now, this is an interesting one. This is interesting to watch now because of what happened with Sheamus releasing a video on his YouTube channel recently, basically showing the rehab that he's going through. He has an issue with that Stone Cold, Edge, and a few other people ended up having, which is spinal stenosis. It's one of those things that could lead, if you take one bad bump, and it could do some bad things to you on that sense. So you kind of expected them to not have Sheamus do all that much, but he decided to do a whole lot in this match. And to be honest with you, knowing that he's going through that at this point in time makes it a little bit harder to watch with Sheamus and doing everything, because you know one bad move could end out going. Now for the match itself, this was a very good match, given a lot of time, and yeah, but all of them just going through a lot of what they've been able to do. Sheamus not holding back at all, even though they've shown the video, or he had shown a video of basically him having to rehab like 20 minutes a day in this hammock type thing just to make sure he can get through matches and everything. In that sense, it's kind of nuts, and hopefully he gets to get the rest and recuperate properly here in the very near future. But very good match between the two of them, with Seth Rollins eventually going over with his knee attack, or basically the V-trigger, if you're going off of Kenny Omega stuff. And yeah, very good match, very entertaining. A lot of good, just a lot of good from that match inside of there. Up next, you had a Dean Ambrose promo. Basically, he was cutting a promo on Samoa Joe, talking to Renee Young, and like he was going through these little strategies of like, oh, I need to stay away from the coquina clutch, and I need to stay away from this and that. And it's like, you know what? Why am I even talking strategy? I'm just gonna go. And that's what he ends up doing. He just ends up going. Up next was that fatal 4-way cruiserweight match to find out who's going to face Drew Gulak next week on Raw for #1 contendership opportunity. So it was the second chance fatal 4-way. It was Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, Tony Nese, and Arya Daivari. Jeez, man, they are giving the cruiserweights some time on Raw, and I'm not going to lie, I am liking it. This match was given a good chunk of time, just like the other fatal 4-ways had been. They're giving them time. Crowd was even getting into it at good points in time as well, which is kind of what the cruiserweights need. They need themselves getting over doing things like this. You had Drew Gulak on commentary along with it. Honestly, Drew Gulak on commentary was very good. We'll talk about commentary stuff as well, especially on Smackdown. We had some good guest commentary this week. Some very good guest commentary this week. Drew Gulak's was very good. It's really hard to go through all the moves that everyone did. We had Cedric Alexander doing his Spanish Fly variation, where he just catches them on run and does the Spanish Fly. Really good stuff. Mustafa Ali hitting his inverted 450. Cedric Alexander hitting multiple lumbar checks. First one he hits to Mustafa Ali, which makes it look like Arya Daivari is going to pick up the victory, because he just throws. Cedric Alexander out of the ring, and it looks like he was going to pick up the victory there, but then but Cedric was able to recover and pull out Arya Daivari. Tony Nese looked like he was going to win at one point. He has that sick looking running knee in the corner. It's a very good move. It's almost like was it Zack Ryder's broski boot, but he uses it with the knee, and it just looks really good. So yeah, overall, very good match. Eventually, Cedric Alexander wins with a lumbar check to Arya Daivari. But yeah, just overall, very good match. Hard to kind of explain all the moves that went on in this match, but it wasn't like they were just going from. And the great thing about it was, it didn't look like they were just going from spot to spot to spot to spot. It looks like there was, each person was selling each move, everything on that side. It looked like they were trying to tell a story of them trying to get to a match with Drew Gulak. So next week, it's going to be Drew Gulak going up against Cedric Alexander. And, they've been kind of doing some interesting things with this one to make it feel like that, maybe Drew Gulak is going to go face here soon, especially up next. You had Enzo and Gulak backstage. Gulak was trying to do some friendly banter and everything on that side about having to face Cedric and how he's going to win that match and then face Enzo and then beat him. Enzo starts putting down everything. And you get this little almost sad look on Drew Gulak's face. And he was about to say that his PowerPoint presentations were soft, but then Nia comes in and kind of just turns everything around. So she says hi, like she does the bit where she says hi to Enzo and hi to Drew, says that she likes Drew Gulak's PowerPoint presentations, everything in that sense, and Enzo's like, yeah, I completely agree, and it's like, completely agree, I find them informative. Very informative. It's like he's a little bit scared of Nia Jax to go along with everything, which I guess, in that sense of everything, she could be a very intimidating woman to go along with it. So it plays off properly here. I feel like it's going to end up being like a Nia Jax is the bodyguard of Enzo, and she goes off and says, we need to talk when you're a little less busy, and then walks off. And the Drew's like, have fun with that. Is like he's playing it off as like, hey man, there you go, have fun type thing, and then walks off to go along with everything there. So up next was Roman Reigns going up against Cesaro, Intercontinental title on the line. All I have down here, because you know when I'm getting into a match you don't really make too many notes about it, I just put great match, and it was. The selling from Roman is getting a lot better, and he's kind of mastered this this lost art of somewhat of a lost art, not completely a lost art, but this lost art of kicking out at 2. And by kicking out at 2, I mean making it look like that the match is over. There was a couple of times after uppercuts and everything on that sense where he kicked out at 2, and you could have sworn it's like, oh, that's going to end the match right there. And it's like that much more before the 3 count, and then he kicks out. And he's getting a lot better at things like that. And it'll be interesting to see how that selling continues on going, if he does continue on doing that as well here, because he was putting over Cesaro's offense quite big here. They were basically playing off of him having kind of an arm injury, even to the point of, you know, when he was going for the ground pound towards the Superman punch, he kind of flinches a little bit to play off of the arm injury a little bit as well. Runs into the post at one point with the arm, kind of doing those typical spots. Just some really good stuff here. Cesaro, of course, great as usual. To go along with everything. This was a really good match. Really enjoyable here. You got some really good matches out of this show. Though you kind of felt like in the overall type of everything, the show itself was kind of but you got some really good matches here to go along with everything. And like I said, I like the stuff with Matt and Bray. Honestly, this show is not as bad as I initially thought it was. Off the top of my head, to go along with everything, because you got some really good matches in there, and you had at least one relatively good promo. Actually, in the promo at the beginning of the show was pretty good as well. So this brings us to what was going to be Asuka and Alicia Fox, but Paige and company return. Absolution returns. They start cutting a promo to Asuka. It's kind of a join us or else type thing. And they start fighting, they start brawling with Asuka. Asuka kind of gains control, but eventually Absolution takes the advantage, and then as it looks like they're going to fully beat down Asuka, the rest of the women's locker room, like everybody, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Sasha, well, it was weird because they showed Alicia Fox having an arm injury, but she just runs out there to go along with everything. Kind of weird. On that side. So, in the end, was a little bit weird, but they played it off, and they played off everything here, because like I said, all the women come back out to kind of chase off Absolution, and this puts them over massively strong, because it took everybody to come out there to finally gain an advantage on everyone. On the 3 of them. So it's one of those things that, yeah, they got chased off, but look at how many people it took to chase them off to go along with it. So they still kind of kept them big on everything there. Up next was Kurt Angle backstage with Jason Jordan. Jordan was backstage, and you know, he was saying he was sorry about what happened last week and like, you know, his actions, everything on that side. But it's like he starts doing this bit, it's like he wants Samoa Joe. And he starts going through everything, like he said, like, I've held my own with John Cena and Roman and all those guys. And I liked, and this is the point that Kurt goes off. It's like, yes, you held your own with all of them, but you didn't beat them. And he said, you're not ready for Samoa Joe, and that you'll get your match when he feels he's ready to go along with it. So this makes the dissension between Kurt and Jason a little bit more. He goes off and is like, okay, Dad, or should I say Kurt? And then storms off. He's doing this little pouty thing, and it's pretty interesting to see where they're going with it. I like where they're going with Jason Jordan now. You can kind of see where the direction of his character is going, where you didn't necessarily see it beforehand. And they're just, you know, pushing towards that heel run here down in the very near future. So definitely not a bad thing, and see where they're going with everything here. I'm definitely liking this a lot more than what I was liking it right at the beginning, mainly because we got a mind of what's going on with Jason Jordan, what we're gonna get down here in the future. So yeah, it comes off a lot better now. So up next was Dean Ambrose going up against Samoa Joe. Of course, Jason Jordan comes out and gets involved in this match because he wants Samoa Joe for whatever reason. For whatever reason on that side of everything. The way he did, he basically comes out there just like Samoa Joe did. He the week before, he sits on the top of the ramp watching the match. Eventually comes down, and he ends up getting hit with suicide dives by both Samoa Joe and Dean Ambrose in this one. Which eventually does kind of play off the ending of the match, where it looked like Dean Ambrose has a potential chance for a win, but Jason Jordan was angry at what was going on and distracts the ref for long enough to allow Samoa Joe to kick out of a pin attempt. This distracts Dean Ambrose, and he gets choked out by the Coquina Clutch. Not a bad match, decent enough match here. They, again, kind of played off the whole aspect of Jason Jordan, everything on that side of it. So it kind of was, you know, more of building story than it was anything else. You had a backstage segment before the main event, which was with Dana Brooke. Now she's a part of Titus Worldwide as a statistician, and they said something else to go along with it. This brings in Gallows and Anderson. They kind of mock everything, do the nerds bit to go along with it, and then just, you know, just for a little bit, I guess a little bit of comedic effect, but also kind of also showing the, you know, like the not the prestige, but the, oh, what's the word I'm looking for right now? The mystique of Braun Strowman. You just hear a brah in the background. They all just like part, and Braun just comes storming through, going to the ring. I thought it was a good visual on that side of it. So that led to the main event, which was Kane going up against Braun Strowman. You kind of knew something was going up because this one was a little bit close to the 9 o'clock hour when this started. And you're right, and we were right to think that is like something fishy was going up there, which did mean that both of them ended up brawling on the outside of the ring, getting double counted out after Braun had put Kane through the barricade. They fought into the crowd, and then Braun rams them through the barricade on the other side, making the barricade fall the opposite direction than what you would typically expect on that side. So they end up getting counted out. So there's no challenger to Brock Lesnar yet, which kind of is hinting at a potential triple threat with Kane and Braun going up against Brock. I'm not sure I want to see that or how that one's going to play off, but we'll see how it ends up playing out in the end. The two of them have a big brawl afterwards. They just continue brawling and everything after the match, which eventually leads to them both doing a dual sit-up, and then Kane doing a great job of selling this aspect of actually being fearful of Braun, in that sense, because he's trying to back away and almost run, but then gets hit with a power slam through the table to finish off the show. And yeah, basically that was it. They went off the air with that. So that was Monday Night Raw. turned out to not be that bad of a show, honestly. After, like, watching it, it didn't really come off all that great. And that's probably because the whole aspect of Brock not getting an opponent for, Royal Rumble when they were advertising it, everything on that side. But overall, you got some really good stuff on the show. At least I thought so. So, this is going to lead us into SmackDown Live that aired on, not June, but December 12th, 2017. And this was honestly a pretty good show as well. They had some decent points of story building going into the pay-per-view itself. They started off the show with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn backstage. They were trying to start not the yes movement, the yep movement, which is hilarious. I didn't catch this right off the bat while watching it the first time, but they just took a bunch of Daniel Bryan shirts and superimposed the P over the S, and it was and they were handing out flyers to everybody and anybody that they were going to occupy SmackDown tonight, everything on that side. And it was a nice little quick segment before the beginning of the show, and honestly, it just came off really good. At least I thought it came off really good. So this does lead to the first in-ring area, which has AJ Styles coming out to cut a promo on the match Sunday against Jinder Mahal. This does prompt the Singh brothers to come out there, and they basically were like, oh, we don't want to be around Jinder Mahal anymore. We want to be in your corner. And AJ's like, okay, I see where this is going. Let's hug it out. And they get in the ring, and they do like bro hug almost to go along with everything. Then one of the Singh brothers like goes in for a full hug and is like, no, that's good enough. And they say they want to be in AJ Styles' corner. They go through all these things that Jinder Mahal made them do, everything on that side. And then AJ Styles basically calls them out. It's like, oh, so you want to be in my corner, and you say you don't want to be around Jinder Mahal, but why were you guys with Jinder Mahal over the weekend in India? Huh? And then has the picture set up. So basically making a house show thing canon to the story, which is something they normally don't do. They do not do that all that often. So they play that off there. This does eventually bring Jinder Mahal out. He cuts a quick promo. AJ Styles ends out dispatching of the Singh brothers, and that's basically what it ends out being. He was saying, it's like, yes, we will have a one-on-one match, and he beats up the Singh brothers and dispatches of them rather quickly afterwards. Up next was Ruby Riott going up against Charlotte. This was I can't really say it was a decent match. I can't say it was a good match. I can't say it was really a bad match. They were working a pretty decent match at that point in time, but it eventually goes to where Charlotte's kind of fighting off everybody on the outside. Natalia's on commentary. Eventually, she gets up, clotheslines Charlotte to cause the DQ. So Charlotte wins via DQ, and she ends out still trying to fight everybody off, but then succumbs to everything. And as they were going to do what they did to Naomi a few weeks ago, which was the whole ring steps being set up on the barricade, and they do that slingshot move off of it, and make the person hit the stairs that way. They were going to do that to Charlotte here, and this prompts Naomi to come out and basically chase off the Riott. It's so weird having Ruby Riott with two T's. I'm not going to lie on that one. And basically start chasing them off that way. And then eventually the entire Riott squad, so Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, and Ruby Riott, get attacked by Lana, Tamina, and Carmella on the top of the up in the rampway area to go along with it. Kind of exactly what they did the night before, though they're making it feel like with the Riott Squad thing that it's not gonna last as long as probably an Absolution on that side of it. It's just the way that they're kind of presenting them at this point in time. It's one of those, they definitely are positioning this team weaker than they are Absolution at this point, though they are kind of mimicking what Absolution did from week to week to go along with it. Though it just feels like this one's the here and they're kind of up here for maybe doing their own individual thing down the line. So it's not one of those things I feel like that they're ruining these three at this point in time. But to be honest with you, it's out of this one, like with Absolution, you kind of get it. You kind of get it. They have their motivations, they have everything, and they have this whole mystique about them. And you can tell that they're kind of heels. Like, the Riot Squad's supposed to be heels, but we've never really seen any of them work a heel way before. Ruby Riot's always been face. Sarah Logan's always been face. So has Liv Morgan. And to be honest with you, the way that they still have Liv Morgan dress makes you feel like that they are not gonna go with this Riot Squad thing for an extremely long period of time. It feels like that they're gonna go their separate ways at some point here. Just based off of, you know, they all kind of just look like baby faces. They really don't come off as heels all that much outside of their aggression on that side of everything. And Liv Morgan in general feels a lot more out of place doing all that stuff than the other two do. But and that's mainly because she's in the bright colors, everything on that side. She doesn't seem like she fits the mold of what they're going for with the Riot Squad at this point in time. So it makes you feel like they're probably going to go a different route with them at some point. And there are ramblings and rumors. You don't know whether or not it's fully true or not of a Women's Royal Rumble. They kind of been doing this over the last couple of years, that there are rumors of the Women's Royal Rumble match. Maybe they do it this year. Who knows? I wouldn't mind seeing it on that side of everything. I would not mind seeing that one. So up next was Daniel Bryan backstage. He was on the phone with what was Shane McMahon. This is a good little bit there. It's like it's like he's saying he's got everything under control. Don't worry about it. And then Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens kind of sneak in there real quick, and it's like they stay real quiet. It's like just like hands a flyer to Daniel Bryan and then just leaves. It's like nice little touches like that. I definitely like where they're going with everything. Yeah, it was a nice little touch with what they were going for there. It's just like the little subtle things, and they do it really quickly. It's not one of those things that's long and drug out or anything like that. The segments you had with Owens and Zayn beforehand were not very long segments, but they were really good to go along with everything. So up next was Dolph Ziggler going against Baron Corbin. Another DQ finish here, but this time Bobby Roode comes in, lays out both people with glorious DDTs. Kind of a repeat from last week. Not much really to talk about there with the match or anything in that sense. You're just kind of setting up more for the triple threat side of everything going into the pay-per-view for the U.S. title. Jeez. The more that I think about it, it's like more Bobby Roode needs to just kind of... I wish they would let him play more of that heel character that he was doing in NXT. But it is what it is at this point in time. With him being a babyface, they could always go down that heel route a little bit later on. It's just good that they're kind of putting him in decent what would be decent matches. Maybe not the best feuds right now, or at least the best written feuds. But this match between the three of them should be pretty good, but you're lacking motivation for fully caring about it as well, which is a sad thing to go along with it. So you had what was going to be, what people were thinking was going to be a Fashion Files segment, but them announcing that the Fashion Files now is going to be over on WWE.com. They show a little clip of it, kind of setting up a match between the Bludgeon Brothers, finally setting up the match with the Bludgeon Brothers going up against Breezango for Sunday. I have not watched the Fashion Files segment. Like, it's the full episodes that you typically see on Smackdown, but now it's just on the .com instead of on Smackdown itself, which is really kind of a sad thing because that was what was getting Breezango over. Was the factor of them doing these segments on Smackdown. And it looks like that is now coming to an end at this point in time. So, this brings us to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens trying to occupy SmackDown. This is good. I did like where they were going with this. They cut their promo about how, Shane has it out against them, everything in that sense, and that they're gonna occupy SmackDown now, and they want everybody to come out right now. No one comes out, and then Daniel Bryan just kind of comes out to the ring, stands at the middle of the rampway, and then eventually his song plays, and then he starts doing the yes. So, and it was the other good part about it is like they were cutting this promo with Owens and Zayn, and they were going through everything that Shane was doing against them, how they were going to lose their jobs because he has this vendetta out on them, and they would say "yep" after everything, and the crowd started doing it a little bit too. So that was pretty good. This plays off the whole aspect of who is the face. Who is the heel in this one? They make it feel like WWE's saying is like, oh, Shane's the face, but he's not really doing that. He's being very vindictive on these guys, even though they're acting like jerks, and that's what Daniel Bryan's basically doing here during the promo. He kind of calls them out. It's like, okay, you guys are kind of being jerks about it, but we don't want. Like, I don't want you guys to just get screwed out of your jobs because you guys are being jerks about everything. Shane's kind of going a little bit overboard here to go along with it. And then he eventually makes himself the second special guest referee for the tag match at the pay-per-view. So this plays off of, this starts playing off of a lot of different things. And they're playing it off as like, trying to make it crazy complex. And the complexity is more on the side of more on the side of like, who is the babyface, who is the heel? Are they turning Owens and Zayn babyface while making Shane the heel, or are they keeping Owens and Zayn the heels, and Daniel Bryan's gonna become a heel? The only ones here that just kind of don't fit is the whole Shinsuke Nakamura Randy Orton thing. And they cut a promo before the match as well, which I'll talk about here in a few moments. But it's just one of those bits of what's Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura's true motivations of helping Shane here, other than they were told to go along with it. And it's one of those things. Is like, who's going to be that babyface? Who's going to be that heel? Or is this just going to be one of those situations? It's like, who do you think it is? And I think that's what they're trying to go for. It's like, who do you think is actually the babyface and who's the heel in these situations of everything? I kind of go on the aspect of the way that Shane's been acting. He kind of comes off more as the heel. And Daniel Bryan's trying to be like the voice of reason. It's like he wants them. It's like he's not going to rescind any of the stipulations. He'll add something and say it's like it will still be on your merits whether or not you keep your jobs on that sense. So he doesn't go against Shane, but he adds something to go along with it, because if he would be going against Shane, he would be like saying, oh, don't worry, you won't get fired if you lose the match or anything like that. That would be going completely against them on that sense. But he does say it's like, just in case, I will make myself the second special guest referee to kind of make things a little bit more even, a little bit more fair, and then it would be on your guys' own merits to go along with it if you guys keep your jobs or not, to go along with everything. So it's an interesting concept of where you think who's the faces, who's the heels in this entire situation. That's where the complexity is in this particular feud, everything in that sense. So this leads us to Aiden English going up against not just English. It's Aiden English and Rusev going up against the Usos on that side of everything. As I'm just gonna kind of double check my audios just in case. Aiden English. Yep. Okay, we do have audio. That would be really crazy if I didn't have audio this entire time throughout everything. Like I said, I'm just double checking stuff because we're also doing live stream to go along with this. So Aiden English, Rusev going up against the Usos. Aiden English attempts to finish his song, though he got the 12 Days of Rusev, but he kind of starts at 8 and goes back down to 1. He doesn't start at 12. We don't see the full song to go along with it. Usos come out, they cut their they cut their promo. They start cutting a promo on Rusev and in English. They have the New Day who's out on commentary. They have their pancakes again and everything to go along with that. And it was, what was it? It was one of, oh yeah, and then of course Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin come out. And they're playing this almost this exact same role as the Usos. The Usos, in-ring action and actions inside the ring are like baby faces, but their promos are almost heelish. And this is what Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin are doing. They haven't gone full heel in the terms of their actions, but they've been kind of heelish in their promos. And I loved how Chad Gable, like where the Usos have been doing this whole bit where they keep going, Shelton Benjamin. And Chad Gable is going like, Chad Gable. And I like how Shelton actually plays off of it a little bit as well and says it the exact same way with him. And it was good stuff. Honestly, it was really good stuff. The match was a pretty decent match, rather quick though, with Aiden English and Rusev going over the Usos in this particular match, with Aiden English kind of doing a his own variation of a DDT where he kind of lays it, like he brings him down for a DDT, but he also falls like to his stomach to go along with it. It was like, I guess it's his own variation of it. I'm not 100% certain. I've seen it before, but it is what it is. It didn't look bad by any stretch of the imagination. I thought it looked pretty decent on that side. So, they had another interview backstage with AJ Styles. Didn't really last all that long because he gets attacked by Jinder Mahal and laid out at that point in time, where Jinder basically says he's taking the title back on Sunday, everything to go along with that. So, this leads us to the main event of the night, which was Shinsuke Nakamura going up against Kevin Owens. Like I had mentioned before, they had actually had Kevin Owens, or not Kevin Owens, but Randy Orton, and Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura cut a promo, mostly Randy Orton. And their motivations are apparently that they think Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are self-entitled. And it's not even like with what they, like with what Shane's going with, in the terms of trying to get them fired or anything in that sense. And they were just like, yeah, those are our motivations. That we feel like they're self-entitled, so they should lose their jobs. Okay. Not the strongest motivations in that one. Like I said, they both of them just kind of feel like they're there, which honestly, both Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura should not feel that way. They should not feel like they're just there on that side of everything. Now, for the match. First of all, commentary. The commentary of Byron Saxton and Daniel Bryan was... This was gold. This was complete gold. Because you have Byron Saxton, who's typically a babyface, coming off as the corporate stooge in this entire thing. Saying that, yeah, he'll basically just do anything because Shane is his boss, and he'll go with his boss on this one. And basically, it almost feels like you had Daniel Bryan arguing with Vince McMahon as Byron Saxton, or maybe not Vince, but arguing with somebody else, with Byron Saxton being that avatar. Where it's like, you know, Daniel Bryan's talking about, you know, his history with all these different guys, and like his thing with Shinsuke, also what had happened with Randy Orton being held down by him and the authority from that period of time, but also makes mention of what Kevin Owens had tried doing to him in the past in front of 300 people, which made Byron Saxton, it's like, oh, it doesn't count because it didn't happen here, which was one of those bits. Oh my god, the burial of Byron Saxton on this one. It's one of those bits that's hard to fully explain, but you just gotta listen to it. It's insane with what they were trying to do here. And it came off as just pure gold, honestly, in there. Now, for the match itself, I thought it was a good match with everything, but you had this bit with, like, you know, with Daniel Bryan, Byron Saxton on commentary, maybe taking away from it a little bit, but they're also building the story of going into the actual pay-per-view with, you know, what's Daniel Bryan's motivations, everything in that sense going into it, and what is he going to be doing, which eventually does kind of play out here, which is what you thought that they would have done Sunday, but they do it here, where the ref gets knocked out inadvertently. So Daniel Bryan takes the ref shirt and gets involved, and makes the 3 count for Kevin Owens after he hits a pop-up powerbomb. And they even play it off as like, oh, he hesitated when Shinsuke had a pin on Kevin Owens. So it's like, oh, is he going to favor Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, or is he going to be just impartial to go along with it? So they played off some interesting stuff here, and I thought it came off pretty good on that side of everything. And that's basically how they ended off SmackDown, was with Kevin Owens going over Shinsuke Nakamura, and you had this image of Bryan, Shinsuke, and Randy Orton in the ring, with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens celebrating on the rampway along with it. I thought it was pretty decent stuff, and I thought it was kind of on all over the place SmackDown in that sense, and it was a pretty decent show, and I completely missed the Bludgeon Brothers. I made mention to the Bludgeon Brothers in the terms of them getting a match with Breezango, but they also squashed a couple jobbers, which one was Colin Delaney from the old ECW days, but also one of them, when they were going for a powerbomb, just let out this screeching wail of a scream when they got powerbombed. It was decent. It was pretty good stuff. I'm liking where the Bludgeon Brothers have been going, along with everything. So, with that being said, we're going away from SmackDown, which I do have my predictions video going. Should be going up here. Either later. Well, I'm doing this on Thursday night, so it might not be tonight, but it might be tomorrow morning that I send my predictions video out. But it is done at this point. But I'm going to be sending it out here very soon, along with everything. So let's go into WWE NXT for this. I keep wanting to say June or January. I don't know why. But for December 13th, 2017, for a reference, I did not watch the USA version of the broadcast, so mine might be a little bit different. I heard that the match with Peyton Royce and Ember Moon was not there on the USA Network version. I was watching on WWE Network, but they did give like a video vignette for Ember Moon on the USA Network version. So they had different things. So I was with the WWE Network on this one. So what we got right at the beginning was Fabian Aichner from the Cruiserweight Classic. Now he's in the heavyweights. Going up against Andrade Cien Almas. Rather quick match, but Fabian Aichner gets offense in at the beginning of the match and, shows off some really good stuff. At least I thought he showed off some really good stuff on everything. And it just came off, really good. Honestly enough, it just came off really good on that side. He does a diving senton out there. He eventually does get caught, thrown into the steel steps, and then hit with the armed hooked, or was it the hammerlock DDT? And Andrade Cien Almas takes the win in a rather quick match. So this led us next to a Sanity promo, basically talking about their tag title match for next week. You had them, showing the battle scars for Alexander Wolf from the War Games match, the staples in the head, everything on that side to go along with it. Decent enough promo. It's kind of setting up their match next week with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era. Up next, after that, was Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch going up against the Authors of Pain. AOP wins this one in what was basically another squash match. Quick match, just like with the match with Aichner earlier on with Almas, Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch do get some offense in, but it's too much in the end, and AOP just ends up destroying them to go along with it. So this led us into what you didn't get to see on the USA Network version, which was Ember Moon going up against Peyton Royce. This was a pretty decent match. It wasn't a long match by any stretch of the imagination. And Ember Moon does go, not much to really talk about in the match. Like I said, it was a decent enough match, not a very long match. Ember Moon going over with the Eclipse in the end. Afterwards, Billie Kay attacks Ember Moon, and both of them kind of start putting the boots to Ember Moon. This brings out Nikki Cross to chase off Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, and then she looks at the women's title. It's like, I want that, and she starts doing her normal wacky, crazy stuff. Well, not wacky, but crazy type persona of everything, and then heads out of the arena to go along with it. So pretty good match, setting up probably something down the line here with, I don't know if it's going to be Nikki Cross going up against Ember Moon, or if it's going to be Peyton Royce going up against Ember Moon here, or the Iconic Duo going up against Ember Moon. Might lead to another Fatal 4-Way. I don't know where they're going to go with it, but I have the feeling they're doing something with Nikki Cross and Ember Moon here very soon. So we got a video package, just like last week, with where you're thinking was going to be the whole Sin character. They had the two spades in there, so it makes it kind of feel like it was supposed to be Sin. But they reveal it, and it's full on, and the rumors were fully true on that one, is that video package was for Shayna Baszler. So yes, Shayna Baszler is going to be showing up in the NXT area at some point in time. They don't exactly say when her debut is going to be, but it should be somewhere down the line here. So that was what the Sin character was. I know there was also a few people thought it was going to be Rockstar Spud, but I kind of went off of the whole, Queen of Spades thing, that you had the spades inside of there from the week before. That would be Shayna Baszler, and it ended up being right on that one. So yeah, we're going to get Shayna Baszler here very soon on NXT TV. With everything. And that should be an interesting way to see with everything. It's probably one of the reasons why Sonya Deville is up on the main roster right now as well, because of the factors of Shayna Baszler coming in on that side of everything. So we'll see how everything plays off when she comes in and who she will be feuding with right away. One would almost think that she might feud with Kairi Sane, but they might have her go right after Ember Moon as well. So we'll see how they play off of everything here. So this led us into the main event of the night, which was Aleister Black going up against Adam Cole, baby! Which he was doing a lot during the match, by the way. He was doing that a lot during the match. Trying to get into Aleister Black's head inside of this match, which was a very, very good match between the two of them. I did rather enjoy this one. This is probably, in the terms of Adam Cole's one-on-one matches, has probably been his best outing so far on NXT side. I even like that aspect that Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish come out with him initially. Adam Cole says, "I've got this." So he's playing more cocky side of everything tonight, though I think they also made mention that Adam Cole and Bobby Fish were going to be barred from ringside in this one to go along with it. But yeah, overall, really good match with them. I like the ending. I really did like the ending where Aleister Black lifts up Adam Cole for the Black Mass. But right beforehand, it's like, what have you... Adam Cole's like, what have you got? And then just gets smacked in the face with the Black Mass and just drops. Good stuff there. Of course, Aleister Black goes over. So and this was also for the for a spot in the Fatal 4-Way for #1 contendership to Andrade Cien Almas. So Aleister Black goes off to the Fatal 4-Way. Again, very good match. It's an interesting way to see where they're going to go with everything, and they also kind of play it off as like maybe this thing with Undisputed Era is that they need those numbers in their advantage to kind of get the victories. It doesn't necessarily make them look weak by any stretch of the imagination, because, like I said, it wasn't like Aleister Black went out there and just destroyed Adam Cole. It was back and forth, everything on that side. But maybe he can't always get it done on his own, so he might need that numbers game to go along with it as well. It'll be interesting to see how everything plays off with the Undisputed Era, especially with the fact is that they got a tag title match next week to go along with everything. So we will see where everything goes down the line here with NXT and WWE side and everything to go along with it. With next week, now here's the thing with next week. I don't think I'm going to be able to do reviews. And by that, I don't plan on it. I don't plan on doing the reviews next week. Last week I didn't do them because I was working on things for when I go home. I go home for a week here on Monday, so, and I don't come back till Monday as well. So I should try to be able to get everything back to normal. Actually, after Christmas Day and everything in that sense. So I should be able to get everything back to normal on that side in terms of what we do and everything that we get to go along with it. So we'll see how everything works out there. I don't think I'll be doing reviews while I'm at home. I do have video content planned for the week as it is, so I'll be releasing throughout the week. So you'll be getting video content. It just probably won't be wrestling side of everything. And I still do plan on doing Clash of, even though it's Thursday night, it might be pushing it a little bit. I do plan on getting a stream set up for Clash of Champions and doing simulation matches before Sunday, and that should be released on the channel throughout before the pay-per-view itself. And then of course we do have live reactions on Sunday, so I'm still doing all those different things. It's just that next week it's going to be really hard if I even do those reviews, which I doubt I'm going to be doing. So more than likely the wrestling reviews will come back the very next week. And I'll see how I decide to end up doing it. I don't mind doing this whole one-off on everything. It usually goes about an hour, everything on that side. But we might go back to the individual episodes as well. I'm not 100% certain. Like I said, I kind of like doing this thing on like Thursday or Friday where I do all 3 episodes at once and I just talk about everything. Maybe even then I can add something more to it to go along with it on that side of everything. So we'll see how everything plays off on that one and see where we go about everything. Like I said, I've gotten a name change. I've changed my name to the channel. Maybe the reviews themselves change to go along with everything. We'll see how everything plays off. We have a new year coming up here very soon, so maybe it's that time to start making changes or something on that side of everything. So with that being said, everyone, I thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We will see you in the terms of current wrestling reviews. We will see you probably... I'm going to probably say for Raw, Smackdown, and NXT starting on the 25th of December. Might be the next week after that. I don't know. We'll see how everything plays out, see where everything goes, and everything on that side. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed watching it this way versus the way that I was doing it beforehand. We'll see how everything plays off and see if we make a full change to doing it in this style more often. So, yeah, like I said, with that being said, again, I hope you enjoyed, and have a great rest of your day.